Now that you got MyFitnessPal all set up, now let's start tracking everything. We'll start logging the food, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. So this way, we're gonna get a good idea of what you're eating, but this is gonna help us make the modifications necessary because based on everything logged in MyFitnessPal, we'll be able to assess and progress you forward. So let's jump into MyFitnessPal. When you open it up, it will go to the home screen. So what we wanna do is go right to the diary. That's the second tab from the bottom left. Now I have my day in here, and you can see I've logged a few things. So the green number on the right side, close to the top, that shows how many calories are left in my day. I can hit that, and I can check up on a couple things. If I go to nutrients and the day view, then I can see how much protein, carbs, and fat is down there, but also fiber, sugar, and so forth. That's a long list, so it gives you a good breakdown. Now let's go right back to the diary because we want to start logging food. I'll show you how to do that. In snack 2, let's hit the add food, and you can see things like an egg. An egg is very simple. Let's log an egg in. We're gonna start creating something really funky. So search, you can see the egg at the top, but the search bar at the top, that allows you to search egg and even hit search egg. Look at all these results. If you want verified items, which are verified by MyFitnessPal, hit that only, verified only. When you hit that little icon on the right side, that is checking all the verified items. So the list gets smaller because there's not a lot of verified items. In this case, an egg, yeah, there's a lot. So let's hit egg, 1 large egg. We're gonna add that in. There it is. Snack number 2 has an egg. Perfect. We're gonna add something else. So instead of the search bar at the top, instead of placing the cursor there, let's hit cancel, and you can see the barcode on the right side. This barcode is impressive. This makes everything extremely easy. So the barcode, this allows you to scan things if wow, I got a beer here. Look at this. Let's scan the beer in, and we're gonna see how much calories are in this beer. Perfect, let's add that beer in. No problem. You could do this preferably with better foods. This is like prepackaged foods. A lot of prepackaged foods aren't gonna be the greatest for you, but this pulls up the exact macronutrients, calories, all that stuff. So that's a great example for you right there. Now that we have snack number 2, that's, we got a couple things in there. 1, we searched for the egg. 2, we used the barcode scanner to add in the beer. Next, we've gone through all the verified items. Again, if you want to get the verified items in there, that egg was a verified item. Now, let's add something else. Let's go to the search bar. I have a bunch of Brazil nuts here. So if I wanted to add Brazil nuts, I'd search for Brazil nuts and hit search all foods or the search icon. Now the one at the top, you can see 6 nuts. Perfect. So you can count these out. There's different ways of doing this. If I were to count out 6 Brazil nuts, there we go. That's one way of checking things. These, well, there's small ones, there's medium, there's large. It's not very accurate, but it's pretty close. So if you were to grab something that is easily counted, like even almonds, or there's all kinds of other things where you can count and get a rough estimate of what it is, I'll just add in 6 Brazil nuts. There we go. Other things are volumes. So let's say yogurt. If you're making something using a recipe, let's say you want 3/4 of a cup of yogurt. You can put it in here. Could be a liquid version of something, pour it in, a tablespoon, pouring something into a tablespoon. The volume, that's another source of measuring. A more accurate way of measuring is using a food scale. Food scales allow you to get deadly accurate, very accurate. So what you can do is pick a source of measurement, which is going to be grams or ounces typically. I always pick one and I stick to it. I use grams in particular. You don't have to. You can pick ounces, you can pick other things, but I always stick to just grams because whenever I use my scale, I just put it in grams. I always keep it in grams. I don't have to change it to like ounces or anything like that. So whenever you add something, it's going to be in grams. So let's add something else. I'm going to turn the scale on. I'll show you how it works. If you want a scale, really cheap, less than 20 bucks, gets things going. So what I want to do, this is a perfect time of day. I'm going to put a drink on here. There's ice in that drink. And next thing I'm going to do is grab a bottle of whiskey. It's very fitting for the time of day. So let's do this. We're going to track how much whiskey I'm going to drink. Pull up the barcode. And remember, grab the barcode off of this. And here we go. We have it in ounces. Like I mentioned, there's different versions. There's ounces in this one. There's 28 grams. Particularly, I like grams. But if you go for the 1 gram, you can also do it with the ounces. In grams, you could search for it. So let's zero this scale. Since I put the cup on there, there's obviously a little bit of weight. But what I'm going to do is pour a little bit in there, show you how to make a drink. Okay, I got 28 grams in there. So what I'm going to do in the serving is put 28. And remember, 28 times 1 gram measurements is 28 grams. Now that we got that in there, you can see, there we go, 68 calories in that drink. It's not a bad drink. So what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of Coke. Here's tip of the day, pro tip. If you have Diet Coke, there is 0 calories in that. So here we go. Cheers. We're good to go. Next, what I want to go over with you is possibly deleting foods. So I just had the whiskey. I'm going to continue drinking that. But the Brazil nuts, let's get rid of that. The beer, I'm going to stick to whiskey. Bad idea. So that's how you delete things. Hold an item and hit delete. No problem. Now that we got a good meal together, an egg and whiskey, not the best meal, don't judge. We're going to save the meal because if this is something you eat common, especially if you have a huge list of ingredients, you don't want to have to add individual ingredients over and over and over. So to save a meal, let's go to the bottom right. Instead of add food, we're going to hit the 3 dots. Now there's a few options. Hit save meal. Now we can call this egg and whiskey. Oof, what a freakish meal. So you can see the ingredients in here. You can change anything you want, but let's save that. So anytime you want to add a meal that you eat frequently, let's go to snack 3 of the day. Add food. So instead of individual ingredients or items, go to the meals tab. And here we are, egg and whiskey, the second down. Also, you can see yesterday's snack. If you eat a very similar snack or the same snack for the same meal of the day, it could be breakfast, first snack, dinner, lunch, whatever, it shows at the top. It will pull in the yesterday's meal, whatever it was. But in this case, let's just add the egg and whiskey. We can change the values as well. Let's say we make the same thing again, but if I were to have poured, let's say 40 grams of whiskey instead of 28, I could change that here to 40 grams, save, and there we go. There's the updated version of this meal. So if you don't make it exactly the same every time, you can make modifications and add it. And if you didn't change the modifications or you didn't change anything, just hit an item. 40, no, let's say it was actually 35 grams, so let's update that. Anytime you need to make an update, it's very easy. Once you log something, it's not set in stone, you can still change it. So that's how you add a meal. Recipes, very similar. You just need to go into the recipes tab when you add foods. You can add recipes, that's a little more advanced that I won't get into today, but we can get into it later on. And if you have favorite recipes, that comes in very handy, especially if it's something where you make something huge like a crock pot or whatever. If you throw in a whole pile of ingredients, you can save the recipes and you can log it very, very easily. Another thing that we can log, let's say for dinner today, there's very common things. Restaurants, could be food services, just very common things. So let's go to Chipotle. Chipotle, I like the steak burrito bowl or the steak burrito, also amazing. And I'll show you why. Hit that steak burrito that I always get and add that in there. look at this steak burrito, 53 grams of protein. Yeah, there's 103 grams of carbs, 32 fat. It's somewhat balanced. It's a little high in carbs, but that's okay. So I like eating that, and that's something you can add in. So any kind of restaurant, if it's popular enough, you can find that in here. You can add these things. So things like restaurant food or food services where they put it together, just keep in mind it might not be quite as accurate as if you're making something at home, because the chef, the cook, whoever put it together might have put more ingredients than the other. They could have made it bigger or smaller. There's a lot of variables when it comes down to it. So remember, restaurant food, it's pretty close. It may or may not be very close. That's at your discretion. So if you're making something at home, like all of these ingredients here, you can get it very, very accurate. Especially if you have a scale, you can get it deadly accurate. So the idea is that we want to get you pretty close with your foods. So go ahead, start adding your common foods, start putting your meals together, start logging what you've eaten. And if you have a scale, perfect. If you don't, you can get one. Otherwise, you can take just close measurements, and the estimates might be close, and we'll get a good idea of the direction that you're going. And again, if you want to check your progress, like I showed you in the beginning, either hit that pie chart at the top right, or you can hit the 271 green. That means 271 calories remaining. So in this particular day, with everything logged, I can see my protein, carbs, and also fat down there. And that's really just how to assess how your day is going, because when you get to a certain point, you can see, okay, protein, remember, that's a minimum. You want to hit that number. Carbohydrates, that's a maximum. You don't want to really go over. Fat, that's also more of a minimum number, so you want to at least hit that number or get close to it. Protein and fat, minimums, so try and get close. Carbs, keep that under as much as you can. So you can see protein, we're a little bit off. Fat, we're a little bit off. So since there's about 271 calories left on the day, what I would want to do is find something that has more protein and fat and a little bit less carbs. So that will get me closer to my protein and fat goals. So go ahead, log your stuff, and let's start creating meals. Follow the instructions below, and we're going to get you going.